Check notification. All right, so today I am going to try something new, and I'm trying to learn how to live stream basically, and I'm using a new tool. So I'm learning as I go, and just like we always say, I think if we don't try, then we don't get to know, right? So today I'm taking the opportunity to try something purely new. I don't know if you can hear me, if my voice is loud enough, um, but I'm gonna go ahead and try it anyway. So what are we gonna talk about today? Today I'm going to try and do a deep dive into projects and how to use projects in AI, because I see a lot of people do a lot of repetitive work that I believe could be easily done through AI projects. And projects are a really, really great tool that I've been enjoying a lot. And so if you use Claude AI or ChatGPT, they are probably going to be called projects. But if you're someone who uses Gemini or Google products, they have what they call gems in their system. So I believe they all work the same. I try all of them. I have previously, for example, used all of them because for my company, I use Google Workspace, and the Google Workspace give me automatic access to Gemini Pro, and under Gemini Pro, I can easily set up gems instead of projects. But on the other side, we have someone who uses ChatGPT or Claude, then they are normally called projects. So let's dive in. And probably before we even dive in, a lot of people watched the video that I did a couple of weeks ago. I edited it using Claude AI. There are a couple of skills you can download in your Claude Code app on your computer and then use them to edit videos. So most people think that I animated my image, and then I wrote the transcript, and then the Claude AI used my image or animated my image so that it looks as if I am actually recording. That's not what happened. Even if you're going to use some of these tools to create and edit videos, for me, I prefer to do exactly like what I'm doing today. I prefer to record my screen. I prefer to be my voice, and I want to actually do the work and show what I'm doing. So if you are thinking that in that video that I used AI to automate myself or to automate my image or to animate my image, I really want to say that, or to explain, I owe you an explanation that you are wrong. So because of those messages, I have decided to do a live stream rather than doing a recorded session. So this is live. I'm actually doing this right now. I can slap myself, can do that, can wink my eyes. I am live, and this is not AI, though I am going to use AI to show you some of the work that I do. So today's session is going to go into two different sections. Section one is I'm going to use a PowerPoint presentation that I've prepared using AI to kind of do a deep dive into projects. What are projects? How can you actually use projects? and how you can customize them for yourself. Okay. And then after the presentation, I would try to build a live project so that you do not only have the specific details explaining what a project is, what are some of the features or sections of a project or parts of a project, how to build a good project for yourself. We'll actually go into details of how to build one, and I'll try to build one live. It's not going to be as good of a project as if I have taken time to prepare what I want to do for a project, because I usually advise people to plan and how you should go about building one. This one will be live, will be improvised. But I again work with AI. I can work with any AI tool to actually build a project, because I can tell AI what I want, and then the project, and then it will give me the instructions, context, names, description, everything I need, and then put that project together. So that being said, let's get started. So that's my presentation there. And like I said, I'm learning how to use the tool. I'm not very familiar with the tool, but I'm going to take you through this project, or this presentation about projects. So projects are not good for everything or for every task that you might be thinking about. There are some specific tasks that are really good for projects. And I always say, if you always have to explain yourself, if you always have to do work that feels, sounds, and looks similar as you build up to a specific task, I would say, for example, if we take an example of an email, right? Before, if you have an email into your inbox, you're going to read it to understand it, and then you're going to click on reply, and then you're going to write the email. If you have to consult someone to be able to make sure that the email, your response is really good, you're going to have to do that. And then you will come, read, edit, make sure it's grammatically correct, sign it off, and then send it. Okay. So some of those parts, some of those tasks we do before responding to an actual email or composing an email cannot be built into a project. And so if you look at your life and the context you're working with today, you can build a project for specific tasks, and you can build a project for even like your specific facets of your life. Like, for example, projects that work into your full-time work, and projects that work into your personal life, and projects that work into your side hustles, for example. So if you want to get in touch with me after watching this presentation from wherever you're watching it from, you're going to have to get to me through LinkedIn. I use LinkedIn a lot. I have Twitter or X, I have Facebook, I have Instagram, I have YouTube, but I like to engage from LinkedIn. So let's dive in, let's get started. So if you are going to determine the best way for you to determine whether a task you are using requires a project, you can just look at the week we are just finishing and then try to think about how many times you've had to explain yourself. If you've had to explain yourself multiple times, and you do it every time you're going to start a task, then you probably need to start thinking about how you can adopt an AI project, or you can build one so that it can help you in the future. But also just to caution, to provide some caution here, not every specific task requires a project, because most people, when they get into these AI products, they get excited because you're trying things, and then you build everything into a project, everything into a skill, everything into a GPT. Like, there are many things that you can do. So I'm hoping that by the end of this session today, if you follow through or if you watch it, you are actually not going to make those mistakes. So a good place to start is, many of us have probably already used like chat, whether you have an account or you don't have an account. Many of these tools today, you can actually use chat without having an account, and you will still get a response. Even like when you use Google, sometimes it gives you an option for AI. So if you click on AI, that window you'll be using where you can query or can put more questions, that window is almost like the same window with Claude, the same window in ChatGPT, and many AI models use that approach. And so the one we are looking at right now is Claude. I personally like to use Claude for my own personal projects or my own personal work. In my full-time job, I have access to ChatGPT team, and then under my startup or my company, I have access to Gemini. So every day I interact at least with these three key AI products. And so if you know how to use one, it's very easy to use the other one. Like, there is no learning curve. Only that on Gemini, like I said at the beginning, projects are called gems. GEMS. All right. So what's the difference between a chat and a project? A chat is basically when you have a question that you want to ask that is not recurrent. Like, for example, I want to know how to convert pounds or LBs into kgs. And then I write 160 pounds, how many kgs or kilograms? And then it will do that for me. But if I want to build a system that has context, that has memory, that has a name, that can improve itself every time I ask it to do it, or even every time it realizes that there is some new information, then we are talking about a project. And by the way, not to confuse you though, I can use a chat to help me to build a project. So there are different ways all these tools work together, all these features work together. But a chat is a one-off. A project is where you are building skills. You are building up a system that eliminates some work, some tasks, some things you do before you deliver on a specific task or responsibility. So the example I started by using was an email, and I was saying that, for example, reading an email can be automated. Looking at your calendar can be automated. Transcribing your meetings, or maybe copying transcripts of your meetings and pasting into a project, and then the project telling you what are the key actions and what can you do about those actions cannot be done through a project. So there is something we are calling explaining tags, or re-explaining tags. We use this terminology when we are trying to explain all the time you waste every time you are having to re-explain something. every time you are having to explain something over and over, it means that you are paying for that time, or you are losing that time. That's why we call it a tax. So every session, when you're working with AI that starts without a project, it means that you are starting from zero. So let's say I want to create a prompt and I want AI to help me to create the prompt, and then I go into the chat window. I will ask it to help me create a prompt that helps me to do 1, 2, 3, 4, and it will do that. Or I can create a project that helps me to create prompts that always has like a structured way I like my prompts. And then I ask it to create me a prompt that helps me, for example, to edit a PowerPoint presentation or review a PowerPoint presentation. That prompt, if I have built a project that helps me to create a prompt, it's going to be fully structured. And most of my prompts, by giving it that one statement, it can give me like a 5 pages prompt of that particular request that was one line or one question or one sentence or one task that I want to do. So if you are interested in understanding the difference between prompts and chats and how projects help you to save time, I think this helps us to understand like how, when you always have to explain and re-explain, how that is taxing, how it steals your time, and how you can actually save that time by introducing project. This is an example I did. I tried to do it using AI, of course, and I was asking AI to help me to determine if someone sends about 20 emails per day and they send 3 types of emails. 50% of emails are always explaining a program, and then 20% are introductions, 20% of the emails are custom random stuff, and then 10% of the emails, they are like internal memo between staff and team members. And every email has an average of 50 words. If you have to open the email, read the email, understand the email, maybe consult with one of your team members, maybe read a project or read some notes somewhere from your computer or from your cell phone, or educate yourself a little bit before you respond. Just with this example, we came up with a minimum of 300 minutes per week. 300 minutes per week is about 5 hours. It's almost a full day, right? It's almost a full day that can save you. And then we came up again with 20 hours per month. Anything you can do to save yourself 20 hours per month, this is almost 3 full working days, right? Is massive. But on the other kind of side of this puzzle, or of this particular conversation, is I have realized that the more you save time, the more you do more work. So if you are an employee or if you're employed somewhere, you should be aware of the fact that if you are able to save a lot of time, then you're going to be more productive, and then you're going to do a lot more work in a very short period of time. So if you used to kind of maybe overthink, struggle, consult, and so on and so forth, your project has memory. And so in that memory, there is always insights that can be drawn into every next email you're going to send about that project. One clarification about you can see we have about 4 types of emails in this case, explaining programs, introductions, custom, internal. You don't have to write to create a different project for all of these emails. In your instructions, you can tell your project that whenever the project is asking about introduction, this is the type of email you want it to send. Whenever the project is about a random maybe email, this is how you like to structure them, and it can always use insights from the previous conversations you've had with your project to help you to respond to that email. And if it's explaining a program, you can even copy the entire website or all the information you can get from about that program and put it in a project so that it works as context. So this is a simple example of how you can save time. And this is just emails, okay? Like for example, for me, I have projects. I have probably like 30 or 40 projects in my work. Oh, I see Anthony made a comment here that he's currently in that process right now, and he's trying to set up 2 companies. Yeah, so this is yeah, hopefully today I'm able to help you to do that better, so that you manage to save some time and some money as well. So one other clarification or additional kind of insight about a project is that a project is not a memory, and it's not storage, okay? It's not a folder. It's basically a set or a system you set that helps you to always start a conversation like 10 steps into the process of creating that conversation. So people always ask me like, okay, Norman, so now how can I make AI read my emails and understand them if I am not supposed to probably if I'm supposed to keep the names and the emails of my clients private? So there are 2 ways I use Claude today. One way is that for my own personal emails in my business, Claude can read all my emails. So I don't have a project. I've given Claude access, direct access to my inbox. It reads every email in the morning and it responds. It creates a draft that it puts in my draft. My job is to go into my draft inbox and read the draft and then either edit it and send it, or if it's good, I send it. And over time, Claude is learning, has gotten to know how I like to respond to emails, because every email I send, it reads it. Every email I edit, it can see what I changed. And I can see that the more I use that system, the more I realize I do not have to edit anything, especially if an email has almost a similar feel or a similar tone. But if you are not allowed, if you work for an organization that doesn't allow you to provide direct access to your inbox, then the way I do it is I copy the content of the email without copying the names and the email of the person writing to me, and then I paste it in a project. My project has instructions that every time I post an email or a conversation into that project, it reads it. It's number 1 responsibility in the instruction. It says read everything I paste here first and understand it, and then summarize to me in bullets, line by line, or line by line by idea. That's how I usually do it. And so once it breaks it down, I will look at the 2-3 bullet points. If it's a lot, it's probably 5 bullet points max. And then I try, now I understand actually what the email wants because I have a summary. And then I will go into the email, try to read it and see if it has missed anything. And then I will hit respond And if it's about a program, it already knows the specific details that each and every bullet point needs. And right now, all the tools that I use, they sound, feel like me. I'm not someone who's very serious when I'm working. I like to take things not so serious. I joke a lot. And so I consider that some of these tools even know which type of jokes I prefer. So the more you use them, the better they become at serving you. So if we are to use, for example, if you have never tried a project at all, and we are going to use an analogy to explain what projects are. One good way to explain them is using the example of a notebook or a journal that you write yourself and a drawer. And then you can see your desktop app. I didn't actually explain this. You can access Claude or ChatGPT from the browser. In the case of ChatGPT, from Codex, and in the case of Claude Code. Okay. So I like to use the computer apps, because the computer apps, they easily go into my folders in my computer and they can work from my computer. This presentation you're looking at, Claude created it. I gave it instructions and it created it inside a folder in my computer and put it there and did quality control and told me what's missing or I need to fix, and then told me your presentation is ready once I gave it additional information to fix those details. If it's Gemini and you've been using Google products, Gemini has a product called Gemini Spark. Gemini Spark can work almost like how Cowork works under Claude and ChatGPT, but in Google Drive. So Gemini Spark, Gemini Gems, they work very, very well with Google Drive. And then Claude, ChatGPT, projects, Cowork, they work very well in your computer, in your laptop, in your computer folders. Hope that clarifies everything. So in a project you have, for example, if you're using the example of a notebook, you have your desktop app, you have your laptop folder for read files or files, and then you have your project. In the project is almost like a drawer. Your AI will not open it or go there unless you ask it to open it or to go there. And then the instructions are almost like how you journal or how you write your notebook. And I'm very sure that you do not write your notebook without, or your journal or your meeting notes, without noting the date, the meeting, and what happened. Like every notes that you take, they are kind of specific. So that's kind of how you instruct a project to always behave the same way. And if you look at projects, you're going to realize that you can actually reproduce the same quality of work over and over. But if you use a chart, it's almost impossible to reproduce work. Thank you, Joanne. I can see that you're saying this is important learnings for so many in this very new era of professional and people. Thank you so much. Truly, truly appreciate your comment, and thank you for joining us. So My goal is that by the end of this session, actually, you're able to build your own project in your own large language model AI tool you like to use, so that you can actually start saving time. Basically, every time, so as you can see, I'm someone who's very distracted. When a comment comes in, I kind of lose my my footing. Anyway, so 3 things to know. A project lives in the cloud. It means that you can access it everywhere you are, as long as you can access your account. It follows you across every device, which means that I can access, if I'm able to log into my cloud account, if you're able to log into your ChatGPT account from another computer, you're going to get access to your project. And it's not going to do anything unless you do it, or if you ask it to do it. Or, as you will see later, some of these projects from these different large language models, they have tasks. You can schedule a few tasks. So like, for example, for Claude, I will show you, you can be able to schedule something either on daily basis, weekly basis, month, like as long as you want. So I always say, if you have, so for me, I have 3 facets of life. I have my own life as Norman, I have my full-time work life, and then I have my side hustles life. So if I'm talking about emails, I have personal emails, I have emails that I use for my side hustles, and I have emails that I use for my professional life. So if I am talking about a project on how to write emails, it means I have 3 projects, so that these AI tools are not confused by, one day I'm talking about me, my mom, my dad, my brothers, my sisters, my siblings, my nephews, my nieces, and then tomorrow I'm responding professionally, and then the next day I am trying to apply for an RFP. So it will be confused. So the best way to do it is to separate them. And then under each type of project, there are also like 2 types of projects. So basically, you have projects for your life's facets: professional side hustle, full-time work. If you have only one, please build for one. But if you have many, don't mix them. And then each project can be general or can be very specific. So an example of a general project is like, for example, some of the projects that I have that help me to write prompts. These are very general. Like, I will tell you, write me a prompt on how to identify the best PowerPoint presentation, and then to write that prompt. Build me a prompt that I can use in ChatGPT, so that I identify LinkedIn accounts that have previously gone through maybe a business acquisition, or that have previously changed leadership, or someone who was recently promoted. You write me a prompt that I can go to ChatGPT, and then I can go to LinkedIn, it can go online, and then it can find those specific accounts that I'm looking for, those specific people that I'm looking for. So why is it general for me? Because I have a complex prompt structure that has a loop, that if it finishes finding 5 people I have asked it to find, and then it does quality assurance and realizes that one of them doesn't meet the quality criteria the prompt has, it will go back and start again without telling me by itself, and it will continue searching until it finds the people who meet, or the profiles whose the people whose profile meet the quality criteria that I've set. So that's an example of how I use the project from a general perspective. I have many examples that I can give on how I use projects from a very project specific. One of them I've been discussing is emails. I have a project that can read any RFP and use my templates to build to respond to the RFP. Basically, depending on your life, depending on what you do in your life, you can build a project for something that has like 10, 20, 30, 59, up to 90% of a recurring process. You can imagine if it's an RFP, you have to read the RFP, you have to identify key details like when is the deadline, what's the process, when is the info session, all of these type of things. And then once you gather those information now, and you have read the RFP and you have understand it, now you have to work on their side, understand from your experience, from your previous work experience, from your previous or your data bank of the work you've done for related or similar fields, extracted that information to use it to build the proposals that you want to submit for that RFP, right? All that work can be done by a project in any large language model of your choice, probably in less than 30 minutes. Imagine how productive that is for you. Like, I'm telling you, if you have not started using AI, you are probably, you have not yet really understood how these tools work. Oh, I see my brother Emmanuel. Thank you, Emmanuel. Yeah, I will try and explain the difference between projects and other features of some of these AI tools we like to use. And thank you for joining me as well. And let's chat because we haven't chatted in a while. So everyone can develop specific project based on the work that you do and based on some of those recurring tasks that usually take or waste your time. It's not very difficult. I will show you how to do that. So project, charts, laptop folder, skills, connectors, plugins, all these are things that people actually confuse a lot. And I hope by this time you understand the difference between a project and a chart. We already know what laptop folders are. And then we have some of these new kind of AI features like skills, like connectors, like plugins. So skills and connectors are almost like specific instructions on how AI can help you to do one specific thing. So like, for example, for this PowerPoint presentation I'm showing you today, I have a skills that has my company's brand guidelines, that knows how the first slide must look like, second slide, third slide. And you can see that every time I come back to like a title slide, it has this blue color. I have a skill that I have developed using Claude AI that has those specific instructions. So every time, even if I gave it like, actually I don't need to give it any slide. I just go in and tell it, develop for me a slide that is doing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and make sure it can, I can use it maybe like in 30 minutes or 10 minutes or 1 hour or 3 hours, you know, anything that I want. And if it's connected to my folder in my laptop, as long as I've pointed the tool to the right folder, I can actually tell it to go into this course, put the name of the course in a document in the folder. So it will go in and do that and find lesson number 2 and develop training material for that particular lesson. And when you're ready, let me know. And I will do that instruction. I will go somewhere or I go to do another task. And then by the time I come back or when it's ready, I have remote access from my phone. If I have my phone, I'll be able to know if it has finished. And so I'll come back and look at it, and then fix either what is not right. And then every time I finish fixing something that it has produced using a skill or a connector, I feed it back into the system so that it can understand what I changed and why I changed it. And so the best way to train your AI system when it comes to things like skills and connectors is feeding it the product it produced. Even those videos I've been making, those videos, once I finish reviewing it, or once I ask it to edit it, I will ask it to give me a summary of the edits I've asked it to do. And then I will ask it to improve the right skills in the portfolio of skills that we have for our video studio. And then it will do it for me. So the best way to train your AI is to give it what it has produced with your critique, or things you like or things you hate, so that it can reinforce or it can adjust what you have. So all these should be very different for serve different purposes, and I hope you probably have a better understanding of how they are different. But one thing I want to clarify is that for every of these AI tools, I can use a skill or a connector in a chat. Basically, if I am using Claude, I'll do a / and then I will write the name of the skill or the name of the tool I've connected, and then it will know that I want it to use that skill for that chat that I'm using. So let's say if I have a skill, I have a skill in my computer called Prosfata slides. So even if I'm in a chat and I say, help me to create PowerPoint slides / Prosfata slides, I will click on it, it will become blue, and these slides must be on this particular topic. It is going to use that skill to design those slides like how these particular slides you're looking at are designed right now. I can use that very same skill in a project, and I'll put it in a project instruction. And then every time I ask it to do something, because in a project now, I don't have to always repeat myself. It has it in its instruction. It will always use the specific skills that I ask it to use for the particular purposes that I've asked it to use each and every skill. I hope that's clear and it's not too confusing. So every project has about 3 layers if it's going to serve you and if it's going to help you. And some of these layers are, for example, who you are, or what the project is all about. So that means it has description, instruction, and memory. What Claude can see. In this case, I'm saying Claude, but the same applies to ChatGPT, and the same applies to Gemini. So that's why you give it access to either skills or context or laptop or connectors. What Claude can do, skills and schedules. So you can structure a project like this, but you don't have to use all of these features at the same time. You can pretty much sequence them. You can pretty much use, like, for example, description, instruction, and memory and context only, and have a complete project without folders, without connectors, without skills, without schedules. And I will show you that as well. So if we use the concept of knowing versus doing, project is almost like specialized expertise, and then folder is where the work happens in a folder. But one thing I want probably you to know is that you don't always need to connect, you don't always have to connect your project to a folder. For me, I only connect it to my folder because, or connect them to my folders because I want them to do specific things for me. You can do it too. It's not complex. It's very simple. But projects can work without being connected to a folder. That's something that I want you to know. And they do the same quality of job as long as they have context. And I will show you what context is under Claude or Knowledge and ChatGPT so that you can understand it. Claude can't edit a file that only lives on your laptop unless the desktop app is open. So this is something like, remember I was talking about accessing projects from your browser or accessing projects from these LLMs apps like Codex for ChatGPT, Claude Code for Claude AI. If you want it to do specific file, like access a file, read it, and work on that file, edit it, or use it as instruction to help you to create something for you, then you need to connect it to a folder, and the best way to do it is using Codex or Claude Code. And that's also not very difficult. You just have to download these apps. They are not very complex. They are desktop apps, and they have for Microsoft and they have for iOS. For your information only, if you gave it a document that is in context, it cannot edit that document. So basically, remember I was saying that projects have they have like, I will explain later, they have like instructions, memory, context, right? If a document is in that context of the project where you're using the document to tell your AI how you want insights or information or data that you want it to always use when it's helping you to do work, it cannot edit that document that is giving it instruction. The document it can edit is a document either you upload to it or you give access to in your folders. So that's a distinction that you must know, and I'll probably try to show you afterwards. I know that it must be very confusing when you come across this for the first time, but it's not actually that crazy. Tone versus craft. Instruction, how to behave. Skill, how to do a specific job. Now, I know here now we are going into layers of specificity when you're working in a project. Instructions tell a project how to do something or what the workflow that it should follow. Okay? Remember I said projects are specific and you can create general ones, right? Skills, they do a specific thing into a project. Skills, they can do a specific thing into a general project or into a specific project. So I want you to make that distinction and keep it in the back of your mind as we continue. The difference between good tone and a good deck. I can make a project instruction, use multiple skills to deliver on a project I'm working on to give me better results and to conduct quality control. So for example, if I'm developing a PowerPoint presentation using a project, I can use the skill to develop the PowerPoint itself in that project instruction, and then when it finishes I can give it another skill that does quality control, and in one project those two skills can be used, and I don't have to do anything. I just give the instructions of what the PowerPoint will be about and go, and then when it finishes it will notify me on my phone. So the other thing to know is that your skills live in your account. They don't live in your project. That's why I can access a skill from a chat, and that's why I can access a skill from a project. So that's one distinction I want you to know. And when you enable a skill, it's available everywhere forever. You can even make it public. You can allow other people to use the skill, a skill you've built. But many of these large language models, they have built their own skills. I will probably do another live about skills and how to develop them. Every one of these large language models or these AI tools has a skill creator. It's not very difficult to create a skill. I know when it's the first time you kind of feel like it's complex. It's very easy. And so you don't attach a skill to a project. You put it in your instructions so that whenever it's executing, wherever it's helping you, it selects, when it gets to where you want it to use a skill, it has specific instructions to use that skill that you want it to use. So you do not attach it. You just put it in instructions. And so, you know, like how you can go into your AI tool and then click plus sign and then add a picture for a skill. It doesn't work like that, but I will show you how you can do it. And so at the beginning, I had already said this. I had said that not every project and not everything deserves a project. The common failure isn't a badly built project. It's 12 half-dead ones. So basically what I'm trying to say here is you can build a couple of projects and then after some time you realize that all of these projects are not nicely built, are not well built. And I know actually even a bad built project is likely to produce better information than a general chart. But my goal to do this session is to actually help you to build a very good project, because it's not difficult, it's very easy. Once you have an AI tool, it's very easy to do them. So don't build a lot of bad projects. Let's work together to build many great projects. Okay, that's my goal. So for everything that you want to create a project for, these three things you're looking at the screen, they must be met. Okay, there has to be recurring work, like there has to be work you do for you to deliver that particular thing that you want to create a project for. The other thing is that context accumulates. Okay, like there is some learning that takes place, there is some, like it gets better over and over and over, and you can always, whenever context change, you can always either give it new context or tell this has changed, or even ask it to save it in memory that this is the new way of doing things in case something changes in the process. And then the audience or the output is basically you can predict the output and you know that it doesn't change. So for example, if it's information about a program, you know that details about that program are likely not to change. So you can feed that as context to your project, and then every time it is responding, it is going to the context you have given it, and then it will use that information. And in the case of Claude Code, you can probably put up to 20 different documents that it must read to help you to respond or to help you to prepare whatever it is that you want it to help you with. Like, for example, if I'm talking about technical and financial proposals, I can put in 10 examples of technical proposals. I can put in 10 examples of financial proposals, which it has to consult when it's responding or helping me to respond to an RFP, so that it uses my relevant experience to that specific task, and so that it follows the right templates or the right structures. So if what you want to put into a project or what you want to automate by using a project doesn't meet these three criteria, is probably a chart, you know? So basically you don't need to build a project for that task if it doesn't meet these three criteria. So you can set up a project in 2 stages. We have like a create a project dialog where you have to answer 2 questions, and then the next phase is where you are now into the project, and now you want to customize the project. You want to give it instructions, you want to give it context, and you want probably to schedule things, all those type of things. And you can create a project both from the app, so like Claude Code or Codex for ChatGPT. Even like in the case of Claude Code, you can create a project from the main menu, or you can create a project from underneath a chat if you're on Claude Cowork. So I will do like some demonstration afterward. So, and the first stage is there are 2 questions that you have to answer. One is what are you working on, and what are you trying to achieve? Those are the 2 questions. One is the name of the project. The other one is the description of the project. Most people answer the first and skip the second, but the second is what lets your AI model make judgment calls on your favor. So basically what you're trying to say here is don't skip anything, okay? When you're trying to build a project, do not skip anything. Everywhere that you have the ability to customize, please take the time to do it. It's very easy. It's very easy. I'm going to show you how easy it is. So this is how it looks like. So here you're looking at a project panel. So here I have already created a project, and you can see the name of this project is called AI Saturdays. Okay. And then you can see where you're supposed to add those 4 items on the side: instructions, memory, context, schedules. So for memory, and you can see under the screenshot, it says only you. So it's for me. That memory builds up as you use the project. The more you use the project, the more the memory builds up. Instructions is the specific workflow that you want the project to follow when it's delivering or helping you to deliver on a task. Context, you can see here on the screenshot, under context, we have 3 items. That's where you upload information, insights, documents, reports that you want the project to always use as insights to guide the project delivery or the project output. And you can see schedule at the bottom. What that is you can say every week or every day do this in this project, and it will be able to do it. And then, as always, you know that working with these AI tools, you always have like how do you call them? Like a chat window. And in this case, you can see one is chat, the other one is co-work. If you choose co-work, you are using that feature that has ability to even like work with your folders. If you use chat, that's where you put the instruction. But actually, whether you choose co-work or chat, that window, write a message, doesn't really change. And then every project, so if you have a project, let's say you are preparing, you use the project to write emails, okay? And you can see down here we have PDF document, and then we have AI Saturday project location, okay? Those are the threads of your project. Now, if you remember the emails categories I was talking about at the beginning, like emails about programs, introductions, internal staff members or your team members' emails. Like, if you want, you can make each one of those a thread, so that the first thread is about a specific program that you work with. And so whenever I want to respond to use this very same project, to only write an email about that program, you go to that program, paste an email you have received in there, or actually ask it, write me an email that gives the specific details about this program, when it closes, when it opens, the requirements, what the client must meet, and then to automatically write that email. And then if it's about introduction, you can go to that thread. But even if you don't go to that thread, because your project knows the type of emails that it writes, what you must know, as long as you say, write me an introductory email that introduces Norman to Tony, it's going to do it in your tone, in your format, like the way you like it. I can guarantee you, the moment you read it, you're not going to know that you're not the one who wrote it. It sounds, feels, tastes like you did it. So I hope this provides a few clarifications on projects. So you have instruction, your lever, you have memory, fills itself as you use the project. You have context, which you provide to your AI tool using either documents or information you already have. And you have schedules, which are like some routine things you want the project to be doing for you based on the instruction you've given to the project, on the context the project has. So when you're building a project for the first time, what should you put in every one of those boxes? On the name is a label you will recognize in a list 6 months from now. Basically, you don't want to use a name that you look at and say, what was I trying to do here? What does this do? Okay. Like for the one I use for RFP, it's clearly written RFP for ABCD. The one I use for email is clearly written email. You know? So don't label something you are likely to that is likely to confuse yourself if you haven't used that project for a while. If I show you my account, it has probably like a lot of projects. So I have to be able to look at the project and then know what it's all about. This description. This is the first layer of context you give to the project. But you can see here that we are saying if you hire an assistant and you want them to understand how to help you, under the description, put exactly what you will tell your assistant. If this is the first time, you've just hired a new assistant and you want them to know, your job is to receive mails, read them, and then summarize each one of them, put them in a folder for me, and bring them in my office. That's what you want your newly hired assistant to do. Those are the instructions you are giving them. When you are describing your project, when you're writing instructions, description of your project, and I will show you where that goes, you should think of it from that perspective. So even if you're using AI, you are not changing how you work. You're not changing how you rate people. You're not changing how you give instructions. That process remains the same. And then instructions, these are like rules, standing rules that you want it to always follow, written as always or never. Basically, these are the standing rules for every project, and your instructions for every project will be different based on what you want that project to help you to do. Context, this can be documents, it can be, I like to use documents in my case, giving it example of what the tools or the assets I want it to use when it's trying to help me on that project. So for example, if it's about an email, I will show it what an introductory email I write looks like. I will show it what a program response email looks like. I will show it how a random email usually looks like. Like I'll give you an example. When I'm writing introductory emails, I know the people I'm introducing very well, or one of the people, I will kind of put context in my email on how I know this person and why I'm doing the introduction. Okay? So I want my introductory email to always feel like that. And so the example I give it under context will also be written exactly like that. I'm not going to change it. And then schedules, these are like things that you want it to do over and over on like a specific time, like maybe every day at 9 a.m. or 10 p.m. or every Saturday. Like my AI project instructions are to remind me every Friday afternoon. So I hope this helps. Now I'm going to try to see if I can build a project very fast. 30 minutes. It's saying it's my turn. 30 minutes, one real project. The goal is a project that's real enough to use on Monday. Basically, I think like what I'm aiming for is to make sure that if you build a project, even if you take time to think about it or to gather context in your case, you can actually start using it almost immediately. That's the goal. And so I am going to stop sharing this screen, and then I'm going to go to log into my account. And then I will show you, or will try to build a project. Anthony is saying this talk track about email is very important because I imagine information and updates on behalf of some clients. Yeah, very well said, sir. You can do a lot with these tools if I'm being honest. Okay. So I'm going to log into my account, and then I will try to share my screen. Maybe the first thing I'll do is to share for example, what Claude Code looks like. So if you haven't used like Claude Code or Codex, this is the app. This is how the app looks like. You can see here we have new. So if I press new, then this window, we will have like something new or a new chat. Then we have artifacts. These are like live artifacts. It's like a live page that you can always go to and instruct it to do something. Like for example, I have an artifact that is like work to do per week, and then I'll go in and say, oh, add this new task into my to-do list for the week, for example. So artifacts are live, and you can publish them, you can make them public, but most of my artifacts are not published. And then you have routines. These are things that you wanted to repeat on weekly basis. Like for example, you can see weekly consulting RFP scanner. So this means that it will, on weekly basis, on Wednesday at 9, next run, you can see it's saying next run is the 26th of August. It will scan the internet to see. I've told it the type of RFPs that I want, and then it will let me know. And then under customize, this is where you can do like skills, connectors, plugins. All these are tools that you can use. I like skills and plugins. If you are someone who uses Claude Code, there is you see this plugin here, small business. If I go back and just, it has 31 skills in it. Like it can analyze a contract, can do your sales, like it has a lot of things in it. So if you use Claude Code, look for this small business. If you have a small business, you look for this small business plugin, because a plugin is an assembly, is like a lot of skills in one tool. This is a very, very good one if you have a small business. And then you can see it says Anthropic. These are the people who created them. This is the one I downloaded. If I'm the one who created something, it will have my name as well, or it will show that I am the one. You see, all these ones, these are skills. All these ones are developed by me. All these ones are developed by Anthropic. You can see that. Okay. Now, that's under customize. If I go, I think those are the main things that I wanted to share. Now I can go back to this is under Cloud Code, where I can actually code or build something like a software or a mobile app or anything like that. And this is Cloud Code Home, and this is where the projects are. So I can create a new project from here, and you can see the first thing that comes is a name and what I want to do. So project description. Once I fill these details, and then I click on create, it is going to show me those 4 other details that I showed you, like instructions, memory, context, and scheduled. And then you can see that I can go into my computer and add the specific folder. I can choose a folder I want and add it there. Okay. So now I'm going to go on Cloud Code. This is Cloud Code in a browser. I hope you can see that this is Google. Basically, this is Google. Okay. The one that I was using before, this one is the app. I hope you can see the difference, because I know that most people get confused. So this one is Google, this one is the app. Okay, so now I'm going to use Google. You can see Ask Gemini up there, which confirms to you that that's Google. Now I've made it full screen, so I know it will almost look like a project, or it will almost look like an app. So now let me create a new project. I'll come here. These are the projects that I have. I told you that I have a lot of projects. Now I want to create a new project. I'm going to call it email assistant. Then I say side hustle. Basically, I know that it's not my full-time job. Now, I'm going to I don't have to type all of these things, because I can use Cloud Code Chat to help me to write the description of the project. Now I say I have created a project called to help me to read my side hustle emails and respond to them. I copy and paste the emails in the project chat. It must understand them, understand every single email I paste, and it must provide me with a summary of the email by bullet point per idea / question, and every point, bullet point must be a simple one-liner so that it's not a lot of details. After this, I will ask you to respond to the email. Now you are going to help me to build this project, starting with project description. Do you understand my ask? So that's basically how I mainly chat with these tools, if I'm being honest. And then once I have two windows, as you can see, one window, because you can open multiple windows for the same tool. And for me, I like it to think. I know that most people, when they're using AI, they want AI to give them answers right away. But for me, I like to use a process where like it has to think. So you can see it says yes. Basically, I asked it, do you understand my ask? It says yes. Here's the workflow. I understand it, as I understand it. And you can see that it has given us the workflow. And then this is the email assistant description. So I am stopping here because you can see here, it's already starting to think about writing instructions. And it's asking me a question. What is the side hustle and who typically emails you? Basically, it wants to be able to customize my emails to me. So it wants to understand further how to help me, basically. So that's almost like a clarifying question. The project description, I've not changed anything. I've copied it the way it gave it to me. And now I'm going to go here and create the project. You can see the project is email assistant. You can see a project, email assistant. So if I went back to projects and went to email assistant, I will come back to that particular project, okay? And the project description is here. Now we are at that point where we can write instructions. Memory, we don't have to do anything with it. It will build itself up as we use the project, context, and schedules. For instructions, you can see once I click on plus, it gives me a window. So I will go back here and I will say, one thing I need for, it's asking me, what's the side hustle and right? So I'm going to write to answer these questions, copy them, paste them here. What's the side hustle? I will do Prosfata Inc. is the name of my company. And who typically emails you? A mix of customers and people interested in my business and business partners. Customers, suppliers, blah, 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 blah. Actually, I should have not written all of that. I should have just written all the above. And then I hit or I click, and then now it's writing the instructions for me. Now you can scan through the instructions, but because I want to be very fast, I'm probably going to, I'm not going to take a lot of time. I'm going to copy them and paste them there so that I can quickly show you how it works. And then you can see that as the one of them is telling me what it's doing, it's saying to recall two memories. If I want to see those two memories, I can click there. I know what to do. Maybe it's something delivering refined project description with Prosfata integration, and the project details, and formulated comprehensive custom instructions. Project description, custom instruction. So I can see already that there is a misunderstanding. I think it thinks that I will connect it directly to my inbox. That's why it starts with inbox handling. So I'm not going to copy there. I will copy, I'll come here and copy here. Before you paste this, do you want the summary to include bullet flagging? No, I don't care about that. So I'm going to go and paste my instructions here and then say save. And then in context, I can go to my downloaded point and then, no, actually, let me choose one of the courses that I've given to my partners, and then I will ask it. So context is a lesson plan that I've already prepared and I've provided to my customers. And so I will want it to give me, to write an email with the lessons in that document. And I will give it a name to write to. And then you will see how it's going to do it. If I have emails, like I have a set of emails that I want it to use when it's responding as templates, I can also add them here. Here you can add a lot of documents. I think you can add up to 20 different documents for context. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask it, write me an email to Frank, sharing with him all the sessions in the lesson called, I can't even remember the one I've added. Let me go back. No, actually, I don't have to say the name. As context. And persuade him to subscribe to the course with his entire team. Make sure it is a good, persuasive email. So let's see what it's going to give us. Hopefully it doesn't let us down. So you can see it's already telling us that it's in the process of crafting persuasive email. Aha, now, I know we are always in a hurry when we want to use these tools. One of the things you can see is that it wants me to clarify a few things. Tell me which dates, the cohort format, and price. So I can copy this and then put them here and say dates, November 1st, 2026. Cohort format, a minimum of 6 people. This is virtual from anywhere in Canada. And price, this is, let's say, 10,000 CAD per company. So the reason why I like Claude a lot is because Claude doesn't just write. Claude usually asks you questions so that it writes the right thing. So you can see the email starts with a course that ends with a bankable plan for. It wants me to customize the company. Okay. If I told the company to put it there, but the reason why it did it this way, it's because it thinks it's generic. But if I told it the name of the company, it will add it. Then it says, Frank, most growth decisions get made on conviction and a spreadsheet built the night before the board meeting. Basically, it's telling him that a lot of people rush into making these decisions. That works until the number is large enough that someone asks you to prove it. And then he's trying to say that's going to work for you, but the day someone will ask you for proof of what you are telling them, then you're going to run into problem. Then I say, I'm running a corporate training course called Business Growth and Expansion by Design, and I think it's a fit for your team. It's not a seminar about growth in the abstract. It runs directly on your live business with your revenue lines, your capacity ceilings, and your cash positions as the working material. So basically, it's trying to tell them each session or the course is structured to fit the needs of the company. Here's what the 4 sessions cover. Session 1, reading the business and model limits. This is session 1. Session 2, and then to explain a little bit about session 1. Session 2, market demand and opportunity sizing. Basically, session 1 focuses on understanding the business, where it is, the challenges. Session 2 focuses on identifying the opportunity that the business has. Session 3, financial modeling and funder readiness. So basically working on the financial model and strategizing and who the right funders are. Is it a grant? Is it a loan? How are you going to approach them? Session 4, operational sequencing and execution. Basically, now that you have a good plan, a growth plan, how are you going to customize it? Then it's saying on why I'm pushing for the whole team rather than 1 or 2 people. The work in session 3 depends on what comes out of session 1, and the sequencing in session 4 only holds if the same people who named the constraints are in the room to sync. Basically, it's trying to give proof why we need more than 1 person from the company. Okay, so I asked it to do a persuasive email, and you can see that it did it. And then you can see signing with all my details. Basically a complete email. If I said this email is going to XYZ Limited, it will pretty much customize the topic or the subject. You can see it here. Okay, if I had put a template and told it how I like to write, it's going to do it. And because I used Claude to kind of prepare the instructions. You can see that most of the AI slopes are not here, like the useless hyphens, bolding, you know. It already knows how I like, my general account knows already how I like to write. And so it has already eliminated or removed all of those. Basically, this is how projects can work for you. And so if I took an email from my inbox and then I pasted it in this project, you will see how it's going to, what it's going to do. Let me see if I can paste something there. What can I paste? Okay. I found an email that I can use. So I'm going to paste it here. And then let's see what it will respond. It's already giving me a summary that's a follow-up to a previous note from this person. This person is offering assistance service to me. Okay. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to say, respond to her and convince her to pay and join my cohort. So basically someone is selling to me, and now I want to also, or someone wants me to hire their services, and I want to respond. You see, it's saying she's pitching for work rather than looking to buy. Okay, so one thing that most people hate is that AI doesn't do what you want right away. But one of the things I like is that Claude always clarifies with you and tells you what's going on. And so it doesn't just respond right away. Subject, you can see it has already drafted an email, subject your note, and something I would rather put in, that I would rather put in front of you. Thank you for following up. I'm going to be straight with you rather than let this sit unanswered. I am not in a hiring operation. I run a corporate training course called Business Growth. The next cohort starts on November 1st. Sessions. Here is why I am raising it with you specifically. Your email positions you around operational friction, pipelines, and program administration. That work is valuable, and it's also that work that gets cut first when a business can't connect it to the number. So basically, I'm pitching her, or the AI is the project is pitching her my course and why. Remember, she wrote to ask to support my services, and now AI knows that I don't want to do what she wants me to do, but I want this project email or assistant to pitch her to buy my course, so that, and creating some fears in her there about like her role or some of the things she does, being the first one that companies cut. So basically, if you're working on projects, these are some of the ways you can use a project for yourself. And if I go back to the project setup, if I start a new email about introduction to Emmanuel, then this will be, if I go back to that project, this will be a new thread basically in the project. And you can see it wants clarifications. So if I go back, you can see this is the first, the one persuasive email to Frank is the first one we started with. The one that I was trying to write now is introduction to Emmanuel. And you can see that it's asking me specific details. So basically, you can choose to always use this thread for introductions, always use this thread for maybe the upsell or the pitch. But even if you mixed both, it's still gonna, because it has the same instruction, the same context, it's still gonna do the same. But I will say, because I like the memory in my projects to evolve as I evolve that particular project or the function that I wanted to help me with, I would say always try to build specific projects and for specific for a specific purpose. So I had said that I can show you, like for example, how to activate a skill. So if I do / like this, and then you can see here Inception Report Builder, LinkedIn Research Writer, and then maybe I write Prosfata slides, and then I tell it maybe a presentation about this course. It's going to use that skill. You can see thinking about creating presentation slides for a recent course, and it's going to try to build. I remember I'm still in that project. The reason why I said the course is because I know that in its context, it has the course. So the project is about writing emails, but now under that project, I want it to use a specific skill. Now, I can do it like this and have the skill activated from the chat, or I can actually put the name of this skill in my instructions. But one thing I will caution you, what I'm doing here is bad practice. Do not mix things like the way I'm using in this example, because it's not the best way to do this. What else should I have said or shown? Let me go here, projects. Okay, maybe the last one that I should have shown is briefing. So this is why when you want something scheduled, maybe session building. So let's say this is a project for all the courses that I'm building. Now I want to create a schedule, a weekly schedule that helps me to build a session based on the course that I'm doing. Okay, so then I say here, I'm not, because I want to go very fast to finish this. It has taken a long time. I will try to type this. Instruction is check memory to remember the session, maybe the course, and the last session we built. Then help me to build the new one using the Prosfata slides skill. So if you say it should do it manually, it means that it's going to ask you. But if I say automatically approve or skip approvals, then I will have to, if I do skip approvals, I will have to kind of confirm which MCP connector it will use. But I will do automatic approve so that it does it automatically. And then I choose the AI, the Claude model that I want to use. I like Fable because it's advanced. And then frequency, you can choose hourly, daily, weekdays. I will choose weekly. And then 9 a.m. Maybe not 9 a.m. Probably 9 p.m. on Friday evening. So that on Saturday, I already have a draft. Then on Saturday, I can just go to the draft and then I go. So you can see under scheduled, there is session building every Friday at 9 p.m. So that Saturday morning when I wake up, that draft has already been built. I'm ready to go. And you can add more. But this is an example of how you can do this. So I hope this was, I also, if I go in the app, now this is the app. So this is the browser. I am going to close the browser for good and then go into the app. If I go in the app and then I go into projects, you can see that I will still get the same project. Basically, they are connected. You can see the schedule we just built is here. I want to run it right now, I can click it and say run. If I want to edit it, I can edit some things here that I don't like, that I want to change. If I want to delete it, I can delete it. Okay. These are all my scheduled stuff. But if I go back to the project, so this is the project. And you can see that you have access to all of the things that you want to do. And the last thing we had asked it to do was to build the presentation, which I'm not gonna wait because I've taken way too much time, almost 2 hours. Anyway, thank you so much for joining me. One document. I think we've done all the things that I had planned to do. One of the things was to even test the project. We've tested it, and I end by what did this just save you. So if you are able to follow this, or if you are able to watch this afterwards, and you have actually managed to do something that is very interesting, exciting, that you're excited about, and it helps you to save some time or some money, it depends on what you are using it for, just either comment on this live. There will be I think I will keep it on my social accounts, or send me a message on LinkedIn and tell me how your experience was. If you have questions, don't be shy. Please ask me. I'll be happy. I'll gladly help you. Thank you so much for joining me today. I truly appreciate it. I hope you have yourself a fantastic weekend. Stay well. Stay blessed. This is Norman signing out.